Hi, welcome along to another video. This time we'll just do USA legislation. We'll work through some news and then we'll end up in Florida where we will get messy with some maps. So starting with CNN, their headline from March 25th, state lawmakers are looking to ban non-existent chemtrails. It could have real-life side effects. So firstly, that headline is wrong. CNN is stating that state lawmakers are looking to ban non-existent chemtrails. They are not. They are looking to ban geoengineering and weather modification, something CNN states further into the article. They're lying in their headline about what's going on. Right? That first few words is a lie by CNN. It could have real-life side effects, such as us getting our blue skies back. Because obviously from the first sentence, they're not meaning that positively. When they say it could have real-life side effects, they're saying we're going to be doomed unless we do it. So in the article, they state Florida's legislature is moving along a bill that would ban geoengineering and weather modification in the state. Well, that doesn't sound like non-existent chemtrails, does it? They say the Alabama Legislative Committee discussed a similar bill last week, meaning the middle of March, third week in March. And last year, Tennessee lawmakers banned the release of airborne chemicals, which critics called nonsense. So now, instead of saying Tennessee lawmakers banned geoengineering and weather modification, they changed it to ban the release of airborne chemicals. And they're making sure you know that critics called it nonsense because it's in bold. But they're not saying non-critics, the people who are for the legislation, the public who are for the legislation and requested it, they don't think that's nonsense to ban geoengineering and weather modification. What we do think is nonsense is when someone like the CNN outlet publishes stuff like this. That's nonsense. So CNN, you're not coming up to the standard you need to be coming up to with reporting on this subject. You're about 10 years behind the public on where the public are at on this subject. But try again. It was a very good effort. Alabama bill makes chemical weather control a crime. Critic says there is no chemtrail government conspiracy. So critic, not critics. Critic, one person, says there is no chemtrail government conspiracy. And that's correct. It's a deployed geoengineering thing. It's not even a conspiracy. People think that geoengineering has already been deployed. That's what it is. There's no other way to term that. Or they're saying weather modification is happening, which you can say these things however you want, and how they're done, what technologies that are being used to do whatever. It doesn't matter. There is no such thing as a chemtrail conspiracy theory. So why the media keep pushing this is just stupid. Why can't they use the adult words in this conversation? So the bill's sponsor said Alabama needs a law to prohibit activities or experiments intended to affect weather, including efforts that are in response to climate change. So weather and climate modification. Okay, that's what the bill is about. So the chairman said in a text message that he was not convinced the bill was addressing a serious threat. So he doesn't see it as a serious threat. That's cool. But most importantly, he says this: I do not believe that there is a huge federal government conspiracy that is spraying chemicals and poisoning our citizens. Note the wording, federal government conspiracy. He also says that he will look into it, but at this time, he does not see the bill moving forward this session. He's understood that this bill is about a government conspiracy that is spraying chemtrails and poisoning the citizens of Alabama. That's what he believes the bill is for. Yet you've already heard just now the person that's put the bill forward is saying it is a bill to prohibit activities or experiments to do with weather and climate modification. So Representative Andy Witt, the Republican representative of Harvest, who is the chairman of this committee, has not understood what the bill is about, completely misunderstood it. So that person really needs to go and kind of check their head a little bit, because they've understood that bill is about a government conspiracy spraying chemtrails to poison citizens, when it's not. Maybe he should actually read the bill. But anyway, moving on from Alabama. Arizona. Arizona Senate seeks to ban chemtrails, some claim used in geoengineering. So again, this is from the Daily Independent in Arizona. Completely false headline. The headline should read, Arizona Senate seeks to ban geoengineering, which some people call chemtrails. That sounds a bit more accurate, doesn't it? So some people claim chemtrails are to do with geoengineering, but other people claim whatever your imagination wants to come up with. In the Arizona Capital Times, state lawmakers are moving to outlaw the practice of geoengineering entirely. The headline, Chemtrail Ban Bill under review. Why not geoengineering ban bill under review? Again, it's like, are they scared of adult conversation, like grown-up conversation? I'm not saying they're behaving like children. I'm just saying, like, speak like an adult. Don't speak like you look at social networking all day and you just, and that needs to be regurgitated into a media outlet. Sorry, I'm going to say it like this, just grow up, for God's sake. Like, the planet needs to get its head in the game. Like, all your childish behaviour. Boring. It's 2025. Get with the programme. Now, the Arizona Center for Investigative Reporting on March 24th, did the Arizona Senate advance a bill to ban so-called chemtrails? There's a big no. That's because it's banning geoengineering. Well, it's not banning cloud weather modification. It's banning climate modification. So no, they didn't ban it. They don't want to ban chemtrails. They want to ban geoengineering. The Daily Sun, Arizona lawmakers seek to end practice of geoengineering. March 27th, getting their heads in the game. Idaho, which is big news. Idaho legislators talk chemtrails at town hall in the Post Falls. I'm reading that from the top. The Coeur d'Alene. So during the legislative conversation, one question that received long answers was whether legislators would support doing something about chemtrails, a topic rarely raised at public meetings. So they're discussing in Idaho doing something about geoengineering. The topic is rarely raised at public meetings. Rarely raised means it has been raised. So the representative said it's more complex than it needs to be because of the cloud seeding done by Idaho Power to create rainfall. Because there are different substances used, the legislation can be separate, if you like. The weather modification legislation that Idaho Power have to abide by doesn't necessarily need to be the same legislation that deals with geoengineering climate modification, such as stratospheric aerosol injection. So they're having the conversation. One of the interesting points out of it is the statement that they're saying it's got to be done on a federal level. Something is going on, he said. It's definitely affecting our gardens. It's definitely affecting the soil. It's definitely affecting what we're breathing. We very seldom have a nice blue sunny day. There's no question about it. So that's not a unique statement by someone, is it? But the interesting thing is it's got to be done on a federal level. So what they're saying is basically it's great that every state is introducing their legislation to circumvent deployment of geoengineering activities. But what they're saying now is it's kind of almost got to be done at a federal level. National, just, no, we're not going to do this. A bit like what the United Nations has been asking for with the non-deployment process. So with Idaho, if we ban weather modification, we ban cloud seeding, the representative said, adding there is significant resistance on that from the agricultural industry. And we all know why that is. I'm not going to say it. So, agriculture, big ag, just like with all the other industrial complexes, they don't want anyone treading on their toes, do they? But there is significant resistance against banning cloud seeding from the business sector, which is important to remember, because it seems the public are just against weather and climate modification, but the business sector is determined to use it so they can profit in their sector. It's capitalism, man. It's just good business. Iowa. So Iowa's legislature has a Senate File 142, which is a bill relating to the prohibition of geoengineering. So the code has been updated, 2025. Nevada, this is a big one, along with Idaho and Texas. It's really only leaving Colorado and California that are behind the schedule, that are kind of not coming up to scratch. California's trying, but their legislators and Colorado legislators are like, they're just not in tune with what the public wants at all, clearly. And that's coming from someone in the UK saying that, America. Hey, so, oh dear. The Las Vegas Sun. How much is rain worth? Nevada lawmakers weigh continued funding for Desert Research Institute's cloud seeding program. So if we do a quick assessment on the activities of DRI and their success rate, so they've been operating continuously since 1976, 50 years, and that was done also by local sponsors when drought conditions had reached critical levels for water supplies. The outcome of their 50-year weather modification program is that crucial water reserves are depleting faster. So if you modify your weather for 50 years, your crucial water reserves will deplete faster. And also, what's stated there, we're really seeing the snow is gone earlier. They're down to bare earth 3 weeks earlier than what they normally would have been over the period, 50-year period. If you modify your weather for 50 years, you will see that your snow disappears earlier and you can expose bare ground 3 weeks earlier than what it should be. They're stating there the outcome of their activities. It's black and white. It's not me saying that. It's them saying that. Tennessee. You'll remember that they're going through their second round of legislation. So in the local free news, Tennessee State House passes local senator's bill to make certain weather modifications a misdemeanor. But then the Tennessee Conservative is saying, and they've been quite accurate up until now on what's going on, but the Tennessee bill enacting consequences for geoengineering weather modification fails in the Senate committee. So, not too sure what's going on with the second round of that. Maybe some of it's passed, it needs to be amended because it failed. We'll keep an eye on that. Well, it's still banned. Geoengineering and weather modification is still banned in Tennessee. It was the second round that they're trying to get through. They're putting you in prison stuff. That's what comes next, isn't it? So we can see from the Tennessee Conservative that there were kind of like two bills going. SB 1033, that failed 5-4. So one vote was just swung that to it passing. And so the companion House Bill 1112, it passed on the House floor on Monday with a vote of 69-21. So this is, it's almost through, isn't it? It's as close as. That's why I always remember with this legislation, when you see that some states fail, one, the vote is normally close, but also it's kind of almost part of that process. Then Utah, the Town Lift Park City News said on 24th of March that the Bear River Basin cloud seeding program received 2/3 of its requested amount. So it requested a certain amount to carry out its operations for the year, and they've received 66% of it, 2/3. So there is legislation talking Utah, but they're also reducing the amount for the program that actually exists. 33.33% of a win, or 1/3 of a win, isn't it? Better than zero. Florida. So with Florida, the story is continuing. I'm just going to show you some more information that comes alongside that. Let's say on the inner workings, if you like. And then we'll get into some messy maps. So Florida, bill banning weather modification moves forward in the Florida Senate. That was on the 24th of March. So we kind of knew that. And the article that headline is from carried that image. Caught my attention. Not just the blue skies. They don't need to ban weather modification, do they? Hey, clearly haven't got it. But anyway, American Airlines is that airline, isn't it? I was like, hello, what's that all about then? There's a caption there to do with the photo. So, bill banning weather modification moves forward in the Florida Senate. The image has an American Airlines plane. I'm very curious why. So the reason that image is used, or the data accompanying the file, the image, states it's an American Airlines Boeing 777. It's preparing to land at Miami International Airport in 2021. So 4 years before this article was published. And the image is just Boeing 777, 777, whatever you want to call that, landing at Miami Airport in 2021. Now, it also states an American Airlines flight landed safely in LA, Los Angeles, not Florida, on March 13th, 2024, after the flight crew reported a potential mechanical issue with the plane. Okay, so that image, as you've clearly seen, it's just nothing to do with the article. So have a look at that again. Now you know what that says under the image. Tricky, isn't it? Like, why? I'm sure you're asking yourself, like, why are they operating on that level? Like, who does that? Is that AI? Is that the current quality of an AI-generated media outlet report? Because it can't tell that it's making a mistake. It doesn't understand the connections that a human would make. So it can't see that it's making a mistake there. It doesn't know. It's a bit like when you use AI for geoengineering or weather modification via drones, via whatever, even in reporting, is how does AI know that the public is against that the public doesn't agree with geoengineering? How does AI get programmed with that knowledge so that it can decide whether to deploy or not? The AI is going to go, oh, okay, I'll deploy. Oh, no, the public are really against that, so I won't. Is that how it's going to happen? Probably not. Eh? So anyway, that was that article. Bizarre. Just bizarre. Because the actual article, you can see, is a bill seeking to ban geoengineering and weather modification in Florida, swiftly moving through the legislature. It's also on National Public Radio, NPR, the website, which the other one was from as well. Bill banning weather modification moves forward in the Florida Senate. Same image. Florida's Voice seems to be the sane head around the media world there, with Amber Jo Cooper again. It was last time as well in the Florida Voice, so thank you, Amber. Look, they even use a picture of their Senate. Excellent. Instead of a random flight landing. So in the Florida Voice article, we actually get some data, some details. We know about House Bill 477, and then spoken about who provided opposition to the bill. The speakers, who turned up and said, I oppose this, you can't put this bill in. The opposition was I.W.W. You might know that name from when we've covered Rainmaker on this channel multiple times before. So in the article it states, I.W.W. from Rainmaker, a cloud seeding company, spoke against the bill, arguing that cloud seeding can help alleviate drought conditions by enhancing rainfall from existing clouds. He highlighted that 14 million acres of Florida are currently experiencing moderate to severe drought. Yeah, they're also experiencing no houses and devastation and right dodgy hurricanes, lad. And there are wildfires. So basically, he's kind of saying he's against it, the bill, because there's stuff going on that his company can make a profit from solving. Even though clearly the public want a bill like this passed because the senators are all operating on public request. They're doing what their constituents want them to do. But anyway, Rainmaker, they don't want it to happen. The Florida vote, the Senate bill passed 20-4. So there were 20 for it and 4 against it. So Mr. Dorico of Rainmaker probably doesn't stand a chance, absolute no chance, of seeing his cloud seeding company having the ability to carry out operations in Florida. Quick head nod to the Florida politics. House panel moves forward anti-weather modification bill. So, the Florida Voice article mentioning Rainmaker. Why does that hold interest for Florida? Why has Adam Dorico turned up in Florida to voice his opposition? We'll look at that, shall we? So the Rainmaker website, there you can see, it's making Earth habitable, because like our population definitely hasn't increased, has it, over the last whatever years, Oh, it's definitely uninhabitable nowadays. Have you seen how many billions are dropping off the planet? Mr. Dorico maybe needs to go on the population counter at Worldometer. Hey, there's nothing wrong with our planet. There is, however, a certain species on our planet that's gone a bit wonky, and they don't know how to interact with the Earth. So looking at the Rainmaker website there, I just wanted to point this out to you. Why they're using an oil painting style thing to advertise their product, their company. You could also term this as a cartoon. So they're using a cartoon image to advertise their company. If you look at the aircraft, any kind of cloud seeding aircraft would be much more chunkier than that. Even that small in the image, you'd be able to see flares loaded onto the back of the plane or some sort of deployment place underneath. If you've watched any videos on this channel, you will see I show the planes regularly. And this has even got a thin back body. Like, oh no, we're not carrying anything really. We go and look at the aeroplanes, the actual images of weather modification aeroplanes. See if that image, that cartoon image, is representative of the real deal. And apparently they're stewarding the natural world. The rest of you do not get to say about that. Mr. Dorico is going to steward the natural world for you. He's going to do it. And you must let him. In fact, you mustn't just let him. You must pay him to do it. Yes, you must pay him to do it. Okay, so all ranting aside, we've established that Rainmaker has an interest in carrying out weather modification activities. They've turned up at the Florida Senate to say they're opposed to legislation being introduced. So NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration from the US Department of Commerce, they oversee stuff in America that's quite an important organisation. So here we're looking at NOAA Form 17.4. It's an initial report on weather modification activities. We can see this is for Rainmaker Technology Corporation, and they're based in Delaware, which is up in the northeast of the United States, up by New York and Washington DC and stuff. So Rainmaker is based up in the far northeast, nicely tucked out the way. The project activity is precipitation enhancement that they're notifying NOAA about. The purpose of the activity is to increase rainfall. The date, the first actual weather modification activity is to be undertaken. It was on the 24th of January 2025. The expected termination date is the 27th of December 2025, so in 8 months' time. So that doesn't mean that they're out there every day, 24 hours a day, but it does mean they have been active since 24th of January 2025, and they're not planning on stopping whatever they're doing, unless of course they're forced to, but they're not going to stop what they're doing regardless of the consequences. If it works, doesn't work, if it causes an extreme weather event at the end of December this year. Obviously, if you're in the United States along the Gulf of Mexico coastline and you did not consent for Rainmaker to come and modify your weather, you can contact them in Delaware because all of their details are there on the NOAA form. So it's very easy for you to write them a letter, phone that phone number and ask them when and where did they get consent from to do these operations, which have been ongoing or happening. The first actual activity, 24th of the 1st. What will they be doing? They'll be dispersing charged water droplets into warm stratocumulus clouds and cumulus clouds to seed warm droplet formation. They're dispersing less than 500 gallons of water over a flight of around 1 hour, which will travel at speeds of 80 knots. And I need to look at what 80 knots is. I don't know, 100 miles an hour, but quite fast, really. Depends on how fast you want your weather modified, really, isn't it? So anyway, if you did not consent to that, maybe you should contact NOAA and ask them what you need to do because you feel like your rights are being violated. So we see on this map, that's where Delaware is, up there. That's where their target area is, down there. Now, we'll just skip to messy map time. If we go through this, and then we'll come back to the target area of Rainmaker. So the United States, We've seen Tennessee do their thing. Wyoming defunded their cloud seeding recently. North Dakota, we've seen Mackenzie stopped. Mackenzie counties, it just left 2 counties with operations, so we've seen them go down. Oklahoma, we're seeing them work on their legislation. Florida, it looks like it's banned, right? Idaho, we saw that, didn't they have a reduced amount for their season? No, that was Utah, wasn't it? Connecticut, over by New York, over where Rainmaker is, over that way, they're working on it. Indiana are working on legislation. Kentucky also. Utah, I did say this map was going to get messy, didn't I? So they're also working on it. Iowa, they're on it. And the count is that we've got about 16 states so far that are either working on it or have done it. So California, Nevada, we put that little bit of California in there for Shasta County people because they're on it. So you get a little mark there. Well done. And the colour isn't Republican related, right? It's a red cross, so it stands out. It's not political. So Arizona, as you know, they're keeping the cloud seeding probably, but they are banning geoengineering. Rainmaker claim they're doing cloud seeding, but Arizona isn't along the Gulf of Mexico coastline, is it? Or the Gulf of America, whatever you want to call that. So Texas, we know they're looking at their legislation. We know Alabama is as well. And we know Mexico, just by the by, we know Mexico has banned geoengineering, even though they've got their governmental weather modification cloud seeding program. So we know Rainmaker is no way going to be able to slip across the border like Make Sunsets did. We know that's not going to happen. So that part of the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, definitely discounted. So we know that bit of Mexico is definitely discounted. As you'll remember from that form, they said 1,236 miles Gulf Coast coastline is their target area. So that line there shows you 2 miles shy of the target area amount. So you can see it stretches the full length of the Gulf Coast coastline. Now, you could say that's a 1 mile square line that's running around there. Could be operating in any of that area. It's a large target area. But we know Texas are working on legislation, don't we? And when these legislations pass, this is what it means. So currently they could be operating anywhere, I guess. If Texas bring it in, then they won't be able to operate there. If Alabama bring it in, well, they won't be able to operate there. Florida bring it in, then they won't be able to operate there. So all they're left with is Louisiana and Mississippi, which can be their possible target area. That's if the others do go forward with proper legislation. So you've got a reason to go forward with legislation. But more than anything, Louisiana and Mississippi might want to get your head in the game. Hey, if the legislation passes in Texas and Florida and Alabama this year, and they're licensed to operate to the end of the year, they're going to reduce their target zone, their real target area, down to the Louisiana and Mississippi coastline. Or they're going to cease operations. Which one do you think is going to happen? Put it in the comments. So that's about it for this video. If you got this far, thanks for watching. If you're in the United States and you're on the Gulf Coast, get in touch with that company. Seriously, ask them, start telling them that you're not happy with what they're doing, if you totally believe that. I mean, if you're completely fine with what they're doing and you want someone to interfere with your weather processes, don't say a word, Use your phone for something else, doom scrolling or something. Anyway, ta-ta, see you next time, look after yourselves, take care,